Crossroads. It's Reid and me, Jono. After our services yesterday, we had some technical difficulties. So thank you for your grace and understanding. We didn't want to, cheat you from a post-sermon discussion. So we're going to have one virtually here. We're both in our house right now. Reid, how you doing?
Well, I'm sure everyone was on the edge of their seat thinking, what will I do without the after-sermon discussion? No, but we do hope that it allows you to dig into the message a little bit more. So glad to discuss it a little bit a day later.
Yeah. Reid, mind if I just read an excerpt from yesterday?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. When Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, came to David, he bowed down to pay him honor. David said, Mephibosheth, at your service, he replied. Don't be afraid, David said to him, for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table. Mephibosheth bowed down and said, what is your servant that you should notice a dead dog like me? It's a great story that I think tied in perfectly with the series we're in. It's never too late. You're never too far, because this guy felt too late and too far, right?
Yeah. With no fault of his own, just was dropped, and therefore was, an invalid. And then his father got run out of office, and not anything he could do about any of that. Mm-hmm. And so you do wonder, certainly we have things that are similar in our lives where we had no control over an event that happened. And you wondered, does God notice that? Does he care? And so I summarized that probably a lot of us feel like we've been disappointed by people and forgotten by God. Mm. And that's certainly Mephibosheth at that point.
Yeah. His circumstances weren't helpful and were very, very, very discouraging. But then also you brought up his physical location yesterday, Lodabar, right? He was far away from the palace, and it was
middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere, not a place you'd think, oh yeah, God's gonna do his best work here in Lodabar.
Yeah,
and
I got a bunch of people yesterday, Jono, that had commented just on there was a reason for him to think that nothing would change because nothing had changed up until that point there. And I meet a lot of people who, have that idea, and I can't argue with it, but I can point to God revealing how he works in the lives of other people, like Mephibosheth, to say, just because nothing had changed, it doesn't mean that nothing will change. Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to include this story.
Yeah. Well, over the last few weeks, every story and this upcoming Sunday have all been long periods in the desert. We've been using desert season over and over.
Right.
It was Moses for 40 years. It was Mephibosheth in Lodabar. It was the prodigal son for who knows how long while this famine took over that he squandered. And then we have the woman who's bleeding for years and years this upcoming Sunday. I mean, all of them are long periods of time where you're thinking, where is God in the waiting? And I'm encouraged when scripture says, wait on the Lord. It's like this posture of readiness and expectation that it isn't too late. He's going to do something. It's just his timing, not ours. And
isn't it hard, Jono, in the midst of it? Isn't it hard to have that perspective? Like when we can look at the whole story of Moses, the 40 years or the 80 years doesn't feel like that long because we know the end of the story. But my gosh, when you're in the middle of it, it feels like forever. And so I feel like sometimes we don't do a good job of at least acknowledging what that feels like. And it for the world feels like nothing will ever change. And, I think the more that I mature in my walk with the Lord, I have a little bit better perspective. It's like if you have a little kid and, they want something, and you say, well, you just have to wait till next month, and they're like, next month, oh my gosh, who knows what's going to happen, next month. And, for me now, the months just fly by, and everything like that. So there is something in this maturity breeds perspective that you don't have. And it's okay not to have it. And we need to recognize and acknowledge it. Sometimes just feels really, really hard.
Yeah. I mean, even as we're saying this, it's like, maybe it's the years and the months, but maybe it's just little moments that feel prolonged too. You know how pain feels like moments pause for forever. And there's a lot of people in pain. And it just feels like you're stuck there forever. It just seems unending. And I just think, specific to the story, Mephibosheth certainly dealt with some of the pain physically, but really there was a prolonged pain that he lived in that probably multiplied the years. Whether that was a pain of not being accepted. Where's my lineage? Who am I? Where am I? What is my purpose? Where's God? I can't do anything. He relied on people. I think of the journey back to the palace. I mean, they had to cross Jordan, and he didn't have legs that worked. I mean, he had to be carried all the while thinking, what's to become of me?
Yeah. And all of that is translated into every individual experience. So I think you're right. I asked you this question yesterday before our broadcast got cut off, but I love the way that you talked about it. The question was this: so what do you do in seasons of your life when it feels like you are disconnected or God is distant? Let's put it that way. Yeah. And so what do you do?
Yeah, for me, a change of scenery, maybe even a change of pace with it, goes a long way. The gospel is never changing. And so the key is to make the same truth matter and make it personal and make it mean something every time. We did communion on Sunday, and it's something that so many of us fall into the habit of doing that we forget, the meaning behind why we do it sometimes, or the gravity of it. And so for me to change location, to get outside, to go somewhere else, I do love to travel. And there's something beautiful about going to different creation, different areas, different experiences. And that has a way of, especially when I just intentionally mix that with truth I know or need or things I'm learning, is really potent and powerful for me personally. I don't know if that's everybody, but it works for me.
And I just appreciated that perspective, because I think sometimes people are feeling like they're limited in terms of the possibility of dealing with this distance from God and making this turn. And I just think that's great advice. We serve a God who was creative and who is so multifaceted, and to be able to change your location, change your atmosphere, I think is just really smart. And then to be open to learning something new. I know one of the things for me is I could get into a rut of thinking I've read that before, I've heard that before, and just to understand that that the Lord is a bottomless well of of truth and grace, and to be able to have a fresh mindset when approaching Him. So yeah, I love that idea, and I hope that your words encourage somebody who's feeling a little stuck.
Yeah, well, on those same lines, the church exists to serve people, and we wanted to kind of wrap up by just saying, if you need help, we want to be there. We want to be the hands and feet, the mouth of Christ, whatever you need, right? So we wanted to kind of prompt you in a prayer of where is it that you want to invite God in to help, and then how can we come alongside Him? And so we want you to be praying that for yourself, but we want to pray it with you. We want to see if we can put legs to the matter, and see if we can even help in some way, shape, or form. And so you can text. Gosh, I never know the number. We will make sure we have the number, but you can text the number in the comments, and we would love to hear from you. And with that, we're excited to see you next Sunday. Reid, did you have anything else before we go?
We're going to wrap up the way back. And so I hope you won't miss it, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. God
Fun.
bless.
Yep. See ya.